Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 34th episode of the Hill Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah, and with me tonight, as always, is Ashley.
Hi.
Hopefully, you guys are having a wonderful weekend or getting started in the weekend. We got some pretty cool stuff to talk about. I want to say thank you to our new subscribers and welcome back to all the people who have been here since the beginning. We appreciate you guys. And yeah, we got some cool stuff to talk about. And last week we went over some interesting accounts that some people had experienced in Colorado, I believe. And we've heard about some pretty interesting things this week. One thing in particular we heard about was some reports of a 50-foot plus anaconda that was reported.
Well, yeah, it's been a while.
It's an old report, yeah. This came from some guys that were flying back in a war, correct? For some reason or another, and this guy had reported.
It was a war.
They were in a helicopter, right?
Yeah,
and,
I do know that one of them was like a colonel or a sergeant or something.
And they had spotted this thing, and I think they got a picture of it. If I can find the picture of this thing, I'll show it so you guys can check it out. But they actually flew back over top of it and got lower to check it out when they got the picture, I think. And they said this thing like reared its head up to strike the helicopter, right?
Right.
And they said the head was like 3 foot long, like 3 foot by 2 foot.
That is wild.
Which means it could basically just devour a grown person whole.
Its head is over half the length of my body. Like that's
insane.
crazy.
Yeah, you would be a light snack for it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Another account that I heard that was very interesting. I don't remember where I heard this. It was on somebody's YouTube channel, but it was an encounter this guy had with a Sasquatch.
You need to try to find that, because if so, you can.
This thing was very. This dude was traumatized, and his report was that he was, he was probably about 6 foot tall, and said he would have been eye level with this thing's belly button, like for a size reference.
Oh,
Said it had like muscles on top of muscles, right? And one thing that stood out, he said the breath smelled like rotten oranges. He said this thing was rotten from the inside, and from his description, this thing basically followed him. He was checking a trap he had, and
he was a hunter.
A hunter, and had somebody, a girl, ride with him out to check this trap. She stayed in the vehicle, and he left the vehicle to go check the trap. And on his way back, it was dark. He started hearing something. This thing got between him and the vehicle, and I guess it was like smacking its legs and stomping on the ground.
It was behind him.
I was behind him, so it was like following him out.
And
but yeah, he could feel the wind of this thing, like every time it smacked, like he thought it was just getting ready to take him out any second. What saved him, he actually remembered he had a headlamp on, and it was one of those like you could click the different settings. And he remembered, so he got the girl's attention in the car by going through the different headlight settings, and she clicked the lights on in the car, and it scared this thing off.
Said it sounded like a bulldozer going through the forest.
And you and I have heard that before.
Yeah. I don't know what it came from, because I didn't see anything, which is weird for as big as the sound was.
But yeah, this guy basically said the thing ruined the thing he loved most, which was going out and hunting, getting in touch with nature. And he was clearly traumatized and clearly wouldn't go back out in the woods anymore. And I don't think I blame him, honestly. It's quite the experience. Also, I want to say before we get into our encounters we're going to share this evening, if you guys have any encounters you want to share, you can do that by emailing us at hillshadowsky@yahoo.com, and we will share those on an upcoming episode.
Or not.
Or not, if you don't want us to, just let us know. We'd love to hear anyway.
Personal accounts.
Yeah, I do like to hear about these things. After, months of going over different accounts, I have learned quite a bit about different things that You know, like you connect dots along the way.
It doesn't have to be necessarily Bigfoot either.
Anything.
Sasquatch. Yeah, anything.
Anything unexplainable.
Yeah.
You know.
Excites me.
Out of the normal. You know, just crazy stuff we want to hear. Do you want to go first? I've got a couple.
I have an article thing about a Bigfoot.
See, I got some weird stuff coming out of Minnesota tonight. I don't know what had me researching that part of the country, but something had me get into what's going on in Minnesota. And there's actually a UFO encounter I wanted to talk about that's coming out of there, and I got a couple other encounters I got off Reddit I want to share with you guys. But I will let Ashley get into her Bigfoot story first, and we'll kick it off with old Sasquatch.
It's actually it's an article that was actually the New York Times wrote this, and several people saw something. It was titled "Yeti-like monster gives Stade S-T-A-I-D town in Illinois a fright." All right, this is Murfreesboro, October 31st. It doesn't have the year. But
Murfreesboro? Now, yeah. Where is this at exactly?
Illinois.
Illinois? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mrs. Nita Green was preparing for bed in her isolated farmhouse near here the other night when a shrill, piercing scream came from out by the shed. "It's it again," she said. 4-year-old Christian was in his backyard chasing fireflies with a glass jar. He ran in the house. "Daddy, Daddy," he said, "there's a big ghost in our out back. Randy Creek and Cheryl Ray were talking on her darkened porch when something moved in the brush nearby. Cheryl went to turn on a light. Randy went to investigate. At that moment, it stepped from the bushes. Towering over the wide-eyed teenage couple was a creature resembling a gorilla. It was 8 feet tall. It had long, shaggy, matted hair colored a dirty white. It smelled like foul like river slime.
River slime, okay. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Silently, the couple stared at the creature, and the creature stared at the couple, 15 feet apart. Then, after an eternity of perhaps 30 seconds, the creature turned slowly and crashed off through the brush back toward the river. Halloween for real. It was the Murfreesboro Monster, a strange creature that has baffled, frightened the police and residents for weeks now in the southern Illinois town on the sluggish Big Muddy River. It's a creature that has brought a real kind of Halloween to Murfreesboro, 10,000 citizens. And although the hobgoblin is so far benevolent, no one here is taking any chances. Many have armed themselves, and a good number of God-fearing families decided to curtail traditional Halloween trick-or-treating rounds. Such monster sightings are bizarre, indeed, for an old farm county seat where brightly colored leaves fall on brick streets and high school majorettes practice baton twirling for the Red Devils' upcoming football game with Jonesboro Wildcats. "A lot of things in life are unexplained," said Toby Berger, the police chief, "and this is another one. We don't know what the creature is, but we do believe what these people saw was real. We've tracked it, and the dog's got a definite scent." It all began shortly before midnight, June 25th. Randy Needham and Judy Johnson were conferring in a parked car on the town's boat ramp down by the Big Muddy. At one point, the couple heard a loud cry from the woods next to the car. Many were to describe the sound as that of a greatly amplified eagle shriek. Mr. Needham looked out from the front seat. There, lumbering toward the open window, was a light-colored, hairy, 8-foot creature matted with mud. At that point, the police report calmly notes, "Complaint left the area." He proceeded and filed an unknown creature report. Judy Johnson was married at the time, according to the police, but not to Mr. Needham. So when the two reported the monster, the authorities took it seriously. "They wouldn't risk all that if they weren't really scared," said one. Are they trying to say they were, like, she wasn't married and was out with another man? So they wouldn't have risked telling everything if, you know?
Interesting.
Okay. Later, as Officer Jimmy Nash inspected some peculiar footprints fast disappearing in the oozing mud left by the receding river, he became a firm believer. I was leaning over when there was this most incredible shriek I've ever heard, he said. It was in those bushes. That was no bobcat or screech owl, and we hightailed it out of there.
I bet.
Officers searched the riverbank for hours, following an elusive splashing sound like something floundering through knee-deep water, but they found nothing. Plains folks hereabouts do not excite easily. So the next day, on page 3, the Southern Illinoisan published a 200-word account of the critter, omitting the embarrassed couple's names. That presumably was the end of the case. But the next night came young Christian Barrell's encounter and the experience of Cheryl Ray and Randy Creeth, the 17-year-old son of a state trooper who drew a picture of the creature. That did it for Chief Berger. He ordered his entire 14-man force out for a night-long search, and Jerry Nellis, a dog trainer, brought Reb, an 80-pound German Shepherd renowned for his zealous tracking.
They get knocked off.
With floodlights, officers discovered a rough trail in the brush. Grass was crushed. Broken branches dangled. Small trees were snapped. On the grass, Reb found gobs of black slime, much like what that of sewage sludge in settling tanks on a direct line between the river and the Ray house. Reb led Mr. Nellis and Officer Nash to an abandoned barn on the old Bueller farm. Then, at the door, the dog yelped and backed off in panic. Mr. Nellis threw it into the doorway. The dog crawled out whining. The men radioed for help. 14 area police cars responded, but the barn, it turned out, was empty. 10 days later, the Miller Carnival was set up in the town's Riverside Park, not far from the boat ramp. At 2 a.m., July 7th, the day's festivities had stopped, and the ponies that walked around in circles with youngsters on their backs were tied to bushes. Suddenly, they sheed? Is that how you say that?
I don't know.
They rolled their eyes. They raised their heads. They tried to pull free. Attracted by the commotion, 3 carnival workers, Otis Norris, Ray Ackerson, and Wesley Lavender, walked around the truck, and there, standing upright in the darkness, was a 300 to 400 pound creature, hairy and light-colored and about 8 feet tall. Man. With no menace, but intent curiosity, the creature was watching the animals. The men ran for help. The creature left, but an hour later, Charles Kimball saw it again peering over the bushes, its head cocked, watching the ponies. The creature report, which carnival operators delayed filling to avoid hurting business, was the last official note of the Murfreesboro monster. However, there have been many incidents that have not been reported for fear, not of the monster, but of the hundreds of humans who flocked to each sighting with rifles and shotguns. Somehow, no one has shot anyone else yet, but the police had to close the park one night. It was crammed full of hunters and curious campers. "This is no hoax," said Tony Stevens, the newspaper editor. "This is hunting country, you know, and anyone who goes around in an animal costume is going to get his butt shot off."
That can happen.
Local officials are not really sure what to do. They invited Harlan Sorkin, a St. Louis expert on such creatures, down for a spell. Mr. Sorkin said the descriptions matched those of over 300 similar sightings in North America in the last decade. One of them on an Ohio river levee not far from here. There has even been a movie, The Legend of the Boggy Creek, made about a similar creature in Arkansas.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
Mr. Sorkin says the creature is probably a Sasquatch, believed to be a gene deviation and a large ape that has produced a creature that Tibetans call the abominable snowman, or Yeti, and Rocky Mountain Indians call Bigfoot. Typically, he said, these creatures are very shy and favor river bottoms for their ample vegetation. Even in winter, here in South Illinois, which is farther south than most of all Virginia, plenty of plant life is available, especially in the vast Shawnee National Forest that straddles the state 400 miles south of Chicago. Mr. Sorkin speculates that this year's flooding forced the creature from its natural home, perhaps a cave downriver. Generally, placid creatures, the Sasquatch is said to have killed some hunting dogs during chases, and there are stories of wilderness loggers in the Northwest found crushed next to their emptied rifles. These creatures had the strength of 5 men, Mr. Sorkin said, and when frightened, they take 5-foot strides. To skeptics, Mr. Sorkin replies, "You know the gorilla, as we know it today, was not discovered until the early 1800s. Can you imagine what people thought when they first saw it? Whatever it's called, the exotic new inhabitant here is real to residents of Murfreesboro, a hospitable town which the Chamber of Commerce says welcomes newcomers in a way that makes them happy to be living here." "These are good, honest people," said Chief Berger. "They are seeing something. And who would walk through sewage tanks for a joke? I know it's out here," said young Randy Creeth. "It would be fascinating to see it again and study it. But, I kind of hope he doesn't come back. With everyone running around with guns and sticks, he really wouldn't have much of a chance, would he?" That's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, a lot of people say these things are friendly, but, I do want to say there are ones out there that, for some reason or another, just despise humans.
Right.
And people have terrifying encounters with them. And also, I don't think they like dogs very much. There are a lot of reports of them taking dogs out.
Right.
But
I don't know. I think it just depends on what creature it is. You know what I mean?
Like people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you meet all kinds of different people, you're going to obviously meet some good ones. And
yeah, maybe there's some that are like mentally impaired or challenged,
But yeah, that's a good segue into my story.
Go for it.
My first one. I've got one I found on Reddit.
Okay.
It's titled "A Strange Encounter in the Woods." As always, I will leave links to all these down in the description so you guys can check them out for yourselves if you'd like. But yeah, this was posted by a user named Trigger11549, and this was 9 years ago.
All right.
It says, "I am a skeptic of the supernatural, but I believe anything is possible, so I won't discount supernatural occurrences if I can't find a logical explanation for them. I have a few incidents that I have witnessed but couldn't explain. I'm only going to tell the one that freaked me out the most, though. So here it goes. I live in the Twin Cities of Minnesota in U.S. A lot of people in the cities have cabins in either northern Minnesota or rural Wisconsin. Our cabin was in northern Wisconsin, a small town called Danbury. The cabin is on Long Lake at the very end of Long Lake Road. Along with the cabin came almost an acre of land of thick forest. We carved a trail through the land for ATVs and whatnot, so the scene is set. Now about me, I'm an outdoor enthusiast, have been forever. I'm 6'4" and fit and have been a hunter since I was like 12. I know my environment well, I know the wildlife, I know the forest well, and am typically comfortable in the woods. I come from a military family, an armed trained in multiple forms of combat, a military family and am trained in multiple forms of combat, armed and unarmed. And I have extensive firearms training. As a result, I am fairly confident in my abilities to defend myself. I'm not really scared of people. Big predators, on the other hand, I'm not a big fan of. Bears, wolves, man, bear, pig, whatever. This brings me to the weirdness. I'm 23 now, but at the time of the incident, I was 16. Even at 16, I was a decent hunter, and I generally have good common sense. Anyway, I was at the cabin with my cousin and grandparents. It is middle summer. I think July, hot temps and whatnot. Me and my cousin were shooting at each other with airsoft guns. We had a full-on 1-versus-1 battle going on throughout the property, including the woods, which were my stalking grounds, as I was wearing my BDU with face cover and all, head to toe in camo. Our battle ended up about 100 yards northwest of the cabin into the woods. We ended the war on the main trail and were standing and talking about the events that conspired, and I was still on guard, because I always am. I suppose I could be considered a tad paranoid. Alright, so we were talking when I noticed something moved on our 12 about 50 meters out. I got quiet and focused dead ahead, scanning. I was still talking and I whispered, "Shh." He shut up, and to freak him out, I said we were being watched as a joke because I figured the movement I caught was probably a bird or something. But then I did notice something. It's dead quiet, no birds chirping, nothing. Then I started to think, this only happens when a big predator is around. So I started looking even closer. Then I saw it. On my 12, there was a large animal. It had reddish-brown fur and almost blended in perfectly till I focused on it. It had long front limbs, arm-like, with formidable claws, it appeared. It was standing kind of slouched down against a tree like it was trying to be stealthy. It was nearly as tall as me in this state. The only reason why I saw it, because of its teeth. I think it was panting because its whitish teeth were visible. Its snout appeared to be a tad elongated. I couldn't get a better look because my first thought was, we have to go. I said it out loud. I was already freaked. When I said that, he bolted up the trail towards the cabin. He nearly left me in the dust because I was protective of him, and I waited a good 3 seconds and kept my eye on it until I saw it move, and it was fast. Then I ran like hell. I didn't see which way it ran. All I know is I heard it crashing through the woods. Says, Jay stopped at the shed to wait for me, which was still 50 meters from the cabin. When I caught up, I yelled, "Go, go, go," and we both bolted to the cabin and got inside and shut the door. Then my grandma asked why we looked panicked and slammed the door. I knew they wouldn't believe me, so I said we saw a bear, and Jay nodded. Later that night, after the grandparents went to sleep, we talked about it, and I asked Jay if he saw it. He told me that he paused for a second to look back after he ran to see if I was running with him, and he saw me looking at it. Then he saw it move too, and me run, but mostly he said he'd only saw a flash of fur. He then said I thought it wasn't the right color for a bear. I told him it wasn't. We only have black bears in the area, and the animal wasn't built right. I said I didn't think it was a bear. He then asked why I lied. I told him they wouldn't believe us. We have kept it between us until now. Still, the animal didn't match any known regional or animal profiles in the area. I'm at a loss for what it may have been. I know that it was stalking us, though, and what it was built like, an athletic predator. Not like a bear, not as heavy set. After the incident, neither of us would go into the woods on foot alone without a gun. We generally only went back in the woods on ATVs from that point forward. I always loved the cabin up until then. Fortunately, the cabin has been sold now. So yeah, that's all that one. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It definitely sounds like something was checking them out there.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe people might get close to their young or something, which could trigger some
right.
Some reactions.
Maybe it's truly just curiosity.
Seems like a lot of them are quite curious.
Sitting out there bored.
But I think there are, there's got to be some that just want to be left alone as well. I mean, they got.
I think they all want to be left alone.
But
they don't want to interact
I'm
with you,
saying like more so than others, like. But bottom line, I don't care how good of a hunter you are, or how well you know the woods, you're not going to go out and catch one of these things. Because there's just that.
I don't know.
There's that aspect to them. It's highly unlikely.
I don't know. I think it would be hidden from us.
My point is this. Doing what people have been doing, you're not going to get any more results out of it. I think as long as we track them the way they expect us to track them, we're never going to have any luck with it. It's going to require some extensive thinking outside of the box to be able to really pin these things down.
Right.
Because as soon as people think they have their finger on it, that's when they realize that there's a whole different paranormal aspect to these creatures.
Right. You think there is?
I think so, yeah. Because you always hear about the footprints that disappear. Or people will track these things to a certain point and it's like they vanish or something, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think there's some element to them that's just beyond our understanding of modern physics. It just can't be explained by what we currently know to be the physical world. It's just, they just operate outside of that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Possibly, maybe they vibrate at a different frequency.
It could be that. Or it could be...
really believe that.
Maybe it's they're an extra dimensional being, and at times their dimensions overlap, and at times they don't, right? So sometimes he's there,
I still think that has to do with vibrations as well. I think everything vibrates on a different frequency than we do, and maybe sometimes, or maybe they're able to lower their vibrations to match ours. And
right, yeah. There's definitely something that we don't understand about it. It's just, it just gets away from us when we're studying these things. But yeah, how many more do you have? I've got 2 more I want to share tonight.
So I'm having an issue with trying to find.
I mean, I can go ahead with my second.
I can't find the my original stories that I had, but I did find some other ones. But they're not. I haven't read this yet, and it's just about like, I guess someone's scary encounter. But this one is... Hold on. What just happened?
Because I do have one more coming out of Minnesota, but it's about a possible skinwalker sighting. Well,
my phone likes to just turn off, and it just did it.
I mean, I can go ahead and do this one while if you'd like.
Go for it.
This one is titled Skinwalker in Northern Minnesota. And this was from March 2020, so this is relatively recent. And this was posted by the user Major Vanilla 9695. So let me lead off with, I never thought I'd experience something like this in my life. I was raised in a heavily Christian household and truly didn't care a thing about something like this being so far north. That is until it happened to me and I started doing research. So I hope my story can help others like theirs did for me. My boyfriend and I were driving the back roads of Deerwood, Minnesota, going to visit a friend for a little bit. While we were in the area, we live about 45 minutes from there. We hung out with them until it started to become dusk, and then decided to head out. Our friend asked if we knew the back road home to shave off about 6 minutes. Being unfamiliar with the back roads of where I was, I pulled out Google Maps and got the directions. My boyfriend was driving his car at the time, which he had just hit a deer with a few days before. The dims on the car did not work due to the accident, and he only had his high beams. We turned down this heavily wooded dirt road that was the shortcut road I was told to bring us down. We made it maybe 1.2 to 3 miles down the dirt road when we came up and over the terrain for the high beams of the car to basically spotlight this animal walking on the left side of the road. My boyfriend driving immediately slowed down, and I realized what I was looking at: a cougar. I've heard of people rarely seeing them in this area, but never expected to come across one. I even said out loud, "Holy shit, a cougar." Little did I know I spoke too soon. Just as the words finished coming out of my mouth, the animal turned around to face us fully, and within 2 steps of walking towards us, this animal changed from a cougar to a large cream-colored dog. Like a Spitz type, but too big to be one. One ear up, one ear down. Very different from the round black-edged ears I had just seen. And a very beat-up red collar that wasn't there 3 seconds before. My first instinct was, oh no, maybe the dog is lost. And this is where I knew my eyes didn't mistake me. A deep primal fear started to erupt in me, something I had never felt before. Every fiber of my being was screaming for me to get the hell out of there. The animal continues to approach the car when I noticed. Not once did the blaring high beams reflect from this creature's eyes. I've seen all types of wildlife at all times of day, and I've never seen a dog like that, wild or domestic. It also moved very different. Not like not hurt, but uncomfortable in its own skin. Was rather lanky. The best thing my boyfriend and I can explain, its eyes to this day, is like the Lynch from Adventure Time. Stupid reference, but haven't seen anything else that triggers to the memory so bad. And if I can find a picture that I'll share. The dog walked all the way up to the driver's window and peered into the car, making dead eye contact with me. And without thinking, it's almost like my instincts took over, I blurted out, "Don't you dare stop this effing car." and without questioning or hesitating, my boyfriend kicked the gas pedal down, slinging rocks. The dog kept up with us for a good 10 seconds before giving up. After letting my adrenaline go down for a good 45 seconds, my adrenaline go down for a good 45 seconds, I turned to him and asked, "Did you see what I saw?" And he turned and looked at me, and I could visibly tell he was distraught, saying, "Yes, what the fuck was that?" And we reconciled and realized neither of our eyes were playing tricks. We both saw the same exact thing. At this point, my boyfriend has repressed the memory, and whenever I bring it up, he has to rack his brain, and I watch the emotions come back up on his face like the first time we talked about it. For the next 3 months after this, every morning I woke up, his cold eyes peering through the car window is the first thing to flash through my mind. It's gotten better, but since the paranormal activity in my house has ramped up, I had some other weird experiences before that I won't go into this thread, UFO type experiences, but that is the reason I have handled it better. So yeah.
Skinwalker.
Definitely sounds like it, right? It sounds like it was probably changing shapes and
doesn't that happen often afterwards too? Yeah. Like when you see one, like strange things start happening, like
these things are quite frequently spotted running along the sides of country roads.
Yeah.
So you guys go ahead and shave off 5 minutes off that trip and take the country detour, but you might cross paths with a skinwalker. So it's all in your personal preference, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I think I'll stick to the main roads.
I don't know. I like the idea of possibly seeing something strange. I don't know.
It's intriguing, man. I mean, you're not alone. There are millions of people, or hundreds of thousands. There's a lot of people that enjoy that kind of thing, right?
I do. Stuff like that. But when it comes to, like, ghosts, I don't know part of that.
As long as I'm in the safety of my vehicle and I kind of know where I'm at. I guess if you don't really know where you're at, that kind of can create a hazard, a safety hazard for yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just just keep your eyes open if you're in unfamiliar terrain.
You want to tell them about the Barbie being moved down in the woods?
I actually would love to document that on video and upload a video. We have a Barbie doll that was sat down on the bench that's located on our property. We have a trail that goes down into the woods, and there's a little bench down at the bottom of the trail. We placed a Barbie doll on, and it's been relocated to.
When you say relocated, what
it's
do you
been
mean?
picked up. Something has picked it up and sat it down on a tree that was knocked over, which is
sat down, like legs still bent, sitting on his butt in the same position, but in a new place.
Which looks like something had to have had hands to be able to do that.
If any other animal was around, like messing with it, it would have just knocked it off.
Well, also we had placed a peanut butter jar out there.
Yeah, those are gone.
Underneath that tree, and the whole thing was just gone.
Yeah. It took a long time to disappear, but
there's been some really strange things happen down there. I gotta say, like, I don't think I had anything weird happen in my entire life until I moved out here. And then I've had some weird things happen down there, and
but
not to mention the UFOs
because,
that I've seen.
Your parents live right over here.
And not to mention that I've spent all kinds of time out in those woods as a kid too. We used to camp like every weekend back in those woods.
And nothing, or were you just not even in that mindset of like even?
Oh yeah, I think I would have been so oblivious to anything.
Why was I such a scared little kid then? Like I was always on edge.
I don't ever.
But weird things happen to me all the time.
Like that, man. I remember kind of being scared at certain points. Like there would be like certain places I was scared of. Like I remember where my mom used to work the elections.
Yeah.
They had like the election headquarters on Main Street in Richmond, and it was like an old building somewhere. I don't know. I remember it used to freak me out, like going to the back where she would work, because it would like be right by where it was vacant at. I don't know. I just didn't like that area. But I don't have like a particular reason for it.
Right? It's just something in you.
Just something, yeah, something in me. Probably that I watch too many scary movies. But I mean, maybe not, right?
That's funny.
I've always I've always wanted to see stuff. Man. I've just never have. Until, probably the last year, I would say. A year and a half.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you guys can also check out most of what I'm talking about. We have videos it's in a playlist called something about stuff that we've had happen on our property. I don't know exactly what I titled it, but there's a few videos where I documented some kind of strange things that have happened out there.
There's been a number of things now.
There have been some
really weird
stuff.
Things in the sky.
Yeah, we've seen
strange things
seen
happen
black
in the
triangles.
woods.
I know you guys have heard about black triangles, like the triangle-shaped UFOs that have, it's like the 3 lights on the very end and the 1 light in the middle, like 3 white lights toward the tips and the red light in the middle.
Light flashing.
And it's completely silent. And
going about
every
2 or 3
time I've
miles
seen
an
it,
hour,
it doesn't move
hovering.
fast at all. I've tried to videotape this thing, but as of this recording, we don't have a DSLR camera.
I got to take a picture of it, but
it really just looks like a star. Like you can just see like white lights. So it's not impressive.
2 lights, I guess, where it got so far away that it just looks like one bright light.
I'm here to tell you, once I get a DSLR, if I do see it fly back over, I will definitely share some video of it with you guys because it's very cool looking. And had I had one, I would have some.
The first thing that we ever saw is still baffling to me. When it looked like...
Well, the first one was the most
light.
interesting. I think it looked bigger that first time.
It looked huge. It looked like the heavens opened for half a second and closed back, like swallowed itself back up or something.
And the second time and third time we seen it was the same night. Like it was one time we seen it going.
The first one was not a triangle.
Right.
I don't know what that was.
No, the bright light. Mm-hmm. Well, we've seen the triangle 3 different times, but twice was in the same night. Once we seen it going and then coming back that night. I don't know. We live close to a the army depot. Yeah. And I wonder, is it going to the army depot?
Maybe it's...
I don't know of anything else that's located in that direction exactly. But it's just,
I don't
know
how...
It's always
on the same flight path as well.
How no one else would have seen it.
It was higher the last time.
The first time we seen it was pretty late. I want to say it was like midnight, right?
No, it was like 10:30.
It was later in the evening.
It was fully dark.
It was like 10:30. Yeah, I just so happened to walk out back and look up, and there it was. It was like right overhead.
Right,
I'd never seen anything like it.
So close.
And people say these things don't exist, but
Whatever.
I am here to tell you.
Yeah.
They do, and I will show you proof of it as soon as I get a DSLR. I guarantee you I can see it again. I know I can. Once it starts getting a little warmer and we start
outside more.
Yeah, we start chilling outside a little bit. I guarantee we see some more. I guarantee we see it again.
I hope so.
So we've seen it 3 times.
Will it be as low again as it was that?
Because we're not looking that much. So when we do look, we have results.
I don't know why it's happened so much.
We get results.
It's very strange.
As far as UFO goes, my last story is actually just, it's not long. It's very brief. It's just about a UFO encounter.
Well,
I'll let you go first. I don't. Yeah,
it's something. I haven't read all of it, but it's about somebody camping. It's titled "The Hand Outside the Tent."
Oh no.
Okay.
Don't be sticking your hand outside.
It's from a Redditor of Bringer of the Nachos?
Bringer of the Nachos.
That's
I like
what
it.
Says.
I like it.
Anyways, a group of friends was staying at this remote cabin that one of my friend's cousins owned. There were no roads leading to the cabin, and it was a good 3 to 4 day hike from where you parked your cars. I couldn't go at the same time as everyone else due to work obligations, so I decided to head up the same day, but later. It would mean I would have to camp for a night by myself, though. the latter part of the trail is too dangerous to be taken at night, especially by someone who doesn't know it. I didn't care. I was kind of looking forward to it, as I've never camped alone before. So I was in the middle of these woods when the sun went down. I got my camp set up in this small clearing, probably 40 feet across. Got my campfire going and pitched my small one-person tent. Did all the camping stuff like cooking hot dogs on a stick over the fire and s'mores. I probably stayed up for a good 2 or 3 hours after dark. It was mid-autumn, so the days were somewhat short. The entire time, I thought I heard shit moving in the woods on the edge of the clearing. I didn't think anything of it at first, because the woods are full of animals. But as the night went on, I realized that whatever it was just circling the clearing over and over. Once I started paying attention, it made 4 or 5 laps around before I decided to get up and investigate. The noise stopped as soon as I stooped up, and I thought I heard some sound going away through the woods. I just shrugged it off, thinking it was some fox that was curious that got scared when I stood up. I decided it's time to sleep. Douse the fire and climb into my tent. I start to doze off and stay in that half asleep, half awake state for a while. I normally hear weird shit when I'm in this state, so I don't think much of it when I hear a voice. Something wakes me all the way up, though, and I realize the voice is real and right outside my tent. It's just above a whisper, and I'm not sure if it was another language or if they were just speaking English in such a way that I couldn't understand. I lay there for some time, I don't know how long, listening and waiting for something to happen. There's just enough moonlight to light up the walls of the tent, so I can see when a hand presses into the wall of my tent down near my foot. This freaks me out, and I sit up quickly. Whoever was outside of the tent tore ass out of there, like running full sprint through the woods. I get out of the tent and shine my flashlight around and see nothing. I was expecting there to be a bloody handprint on the tent, but nope. Didn't sleep that night. Packed up camp at first light that morning and booked it to the cabin. That's it. Sounds very much like some Squatch.
That's very much like trickster behavior.
Yeah.
Why would you push in on somebody's tent?
That's not the first time I've heard about that either.
Book off and run. Yeah, there are several reports of that type of thing.
It's almost like see how close we can get without being caught.
I don't like that. See, why? If I'm trying to camp, just leave me alone. Don't come pushing on my tent. That's unnecessary. I already have trouble sleeping out in the woods.
And he said that, like, you could hear talking, that maybe it wasn't English. Like, what?
I mean, that, again, what that makes me think of is the Sierra Sounds, obviously. Yeah. And they say like these things have a language. It's like samurai chatter is what they call it.
Could have been just like...
I don't know if you guys have not checked out the Sierra Sounds.
Sure,
please go check it. I'll actually see if I can find a good link and leave it down in the description for you guys to check out. It's a recording that was caught in the Sierra Nevada mountains.
In what, like the 70s or something?
In the 70s by Ron Moorhead.
It's crazy.
And they would go to this hunting cabin that only they knew how to get to, where they would have to go in on horseback and all kinds of crazy shit.
Where it's at.
Yeah, they dismantled their original camping lodge.
Yeah, I mean, the location to this day.
They recorded what they claimed were Sasquatch conversing back and forth with them out in the middle of nowhere. And I mean, I guess to hear them say they thought these things were going to crash in and snatch them all out of there. But they never did. And they never actually seen them, I don't believe. But these recordings have been analyzed.
No, but he has seen some other strange things out there, like a rod of light or something.
Right, yeah.
Like,
there's a lot of paranormal type activity that goes along with it. But these sounds are incredible. There's no way it was a person making these sounds.
I believe they were analyzed, weren't they? And they said
they have been analyzed.
It was like...
the frequencies.
Vocal range
it was outside of the vocal range, right? Absolutely. Yeah, that's crazy though.
What do you got next?
I got just one. This one's, like I said, I researched Minnesota. This is let's wrap up Minnesota. I don't think I can find.
Wrap up Minnesota
for now, because I researched Minnesota this week.
That is not what I did.
Yeah, I mean, I did. That's just where I gathered my few incidents.
Oh.
And this one is known as the Val Johnson incident. Have you heard of this?
I don't suppose. Maybe.
Well, this one it refers to an alleged encounter by Marshall County, Minnesota Deputy Sheriff Val Johnson with a UFO. The year I was born, 1979.
All right.
Johnson reported that while he was on patrol near Warren, Minnesota, about 2 a.m. on August 27th, 1979, he saw a beam of light just above the road. According to Johnson, the beam sped towards him. His squad car was engulfed in light, and he heard glass breaking. Johnson said he was unconscious for 39 minutes, and when he awoke...
We just watched this whole episode. That's the cop car that got hit.
Really?
Yeah.
And when he awoke, he realized his wristwatch and the vehicle's clock had stopped for 14 minutes.
At the same time?
Yeah. I hadn't read this. I just knew it was a
keep
Val
going.
Johnson
Sorry.
incident.
Maybe people haven't heard.
The windshield was shattered. A headlight and red emergency light was damaged, and a thin radio aerial bent. Mm-hmm. And I will actually see if I can find these pictures, because we seen these pictures of this thing.
It was a video.
It was a video, but I'm surely I can get pictures if we seen video. Deputies responding to Johnson's call for help found the squad car sideways on the road. Johnson suffered bruises and eye irritation that a physician compared to welder's burns.
Yeah.
When the story received national publicity, Johnson told reporters the sudden attention had caused him and his family a great deal of emotional strain. On September 11th, 1979, Johnson appeared as a guest on ABC's Good Morning America program. UFOlogists, including Alan Hendry and Jerome Clark, consider the incident significant, with Clark claiming that Johnson refused to take a polygraph test because Johnson believed it would only serve to satisfy people's morbid curiosity. UFO skeptic Philip Klass argued that the entire event was a hoax and that Johnson had deliberately damaged his own patrol car.
Oh my goodness.
There's always the naysayer, right? Mm-hmm. That's really all there is about it.
Well, I don't know if it was ever how new that thing was we were watching, but the way that glass broke in the windshield had actually been like, how do you explain it?
Look, there's some like holes in it, right?
Yeah, but aside from like it was like pushed in, like
maybe energy caused it or something.
I don't know. I can't even think of the words to, like, pushed in and back out. Like what's the word I'm missing here? I don't know. But basically, like, almost like pushed in and back out. Like, I don't know how to say it. I'm having a lack of...
Like collapsed?
But back out again. Like a warp. Like, you know what I mean? Like a... I don't know.
Wobbled?
Kinda.
I don't know.
I can't think of the right word to use.
That's a pretty interesting report, though. I guess the big question would be, if it was a hoax, why?
Right. There was also like a one dent on the roof of the hood. One front park light was out. Busted. Mm-hmm. The antenna was bent. The windshield busted. But you could tell, like, whatever hit the window, that it was like in almost like one centralized area, because it like legit put up a pretty big like softball sized hole in it.
Clearly, this dude wrecked his car.
But he didn't wreck his car.
I'm saying, but in order to hoax, this would have been the extreme he would have had to go into, right? He would have had to literally have wrecked his car and been willing to put himself in physical pain.
And then
to an unknown extent.
Make himself look crazy by saying it was light.
To make that you would have to have been setting out to hoax the whole time. I don't know.
And being an officer, like, it just seems...
It's very unlikely in my opinion. I think it's probably a valid UFO report if I had to guess.
Sure. I mean, I don't see how anybody could say that they're not real at this point.
they're clearly
right.
UFOs at this point. If you don't believe in UFOs,
you're truly in a state of denial.
Let me go ahead and tell you, you don't need to be listening to this here.
I mean, listen to the.
The
government is.
They have literally. Our own governments have came out and acknowledged these things and admitted, yes, they are real. We do not know what they are. Whether they do or not, who knows? I don't think they're going to tell us.
It's ridiculous the amount of people that want to not believe stories.
Right. Yeah, there are still people who laugh UFOs. About UFO sightings.
The trauma of that is almost greater than what you went through, like the actual experience.
Right.
People
are ignorant to a lot of things. A lot of those people that act like that are very just closed-minded people, and it's not just that they're closed off to. It's just most things in life they won't allow in.
Yeah.
Because they're closed-minded.
That's too bad, because you're missing out on
everything.
Yeah.
You're missing out on everything. But that's what we're here for. We're here to enlighten people, and
some people like living in that little bubble of just whatever they think is real.
Every day, people report encounters of things that they cannot explain, that defy the physics that we know. That we don't have justification for outside of the realm of paranormal. Mm-hmm. It being something that we know we can't explain. Mm-hmm. And I'm fascinated by all the reports we go over, man. Mm-hmm. They're all really tied together, and I feel like every week we're just kind of connecting more dots. So I don't have anything else for tonight. I hope you guys have enjoyed the encounters we shared. Like I said, I'll always leave links to anything down in the description. And also, if you guys have an encounter you want to share, I encourage you to do that. That email that you can send those to, again, is hillshadowsky@yahoo.com. I will also have that down in the description. And if you guys like the video, be sure to hit the like button. And if you're not already subscribed, be sure to subscribe and share if you can. And do you have anything else for this evening?
I do not.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get out of here and go enjoy our weekend. It's long overdue. So hopefully